Friends, there are 3 ways to understand someone's mind, and it's essential to understand these 3 methods. If you understand these 3 methods, you can easily comprehend someone's thoughts. Let's explore this through a Buddha story on how you can understand others' thoughts. A long time ago, there was a small village where 2 brothers lived. The elder brother was blind, so he always stayed at home, while the younger brother worked in the fields. However, due to the frequent presence of animals in the fields, all the crops were getting destroyed, causing great distress to the younger brother. He then came up with an idea. One day he thought, why not use my elder brother's help to drive away these animals from the fields? Since my elder brother is blind, if he stays in the field and shouts loudly whenever he hears the animals, they will be frightened away, and our crops will be saved. After thinking this through, he set up a small hut in his field and placed his blind brother there. He said, "Brother, if you hear any noise from animals, shout loudly. This will make the animals flee and save our crops from being destroyed." The elder brother agreed to this and started staying in the field from that day. Whenever he heard any animal noise, he would immediately start shouting loudly, causing the animals to run away from the fields. Days passed like this. One day, a deer came running into the field and broke through the fence to escape. However, in pursuit of this deer, a king also arrived in the field. The king then noticed the blind brother and asked him, "Look, I came here chasing an animal. Did you see any animal here?" The blind man replied, "O king, I am blind. How can I see any animal? But I can tell you that the animal that ran through my fields is not worth your time. You are wasting your time chasing it." The king was astonished by the blind man's words. He wondered how the blind man knew that the deer he was searching for was not worth his time. How could this blind man know? The king then said to the blind man, "Are you not lying to me? On one hand, you say you are blind, and on the other hand, you also say that the animal that ran away is not worth my time." The blind man replied, "O king, what you think is a deer is actually a doe, and she is pregnant. As far as I know, I have never heard of a king hunting a pregnant doe. That is why I am telling you that this doe is not worth your time. Don't waste your time on it." Hearing this, the king was even more surprised. He wondered how the blind man could know that the animal was a doe and that she was pregnant. After thinking for a while, the king said to his commander, "Commander, I want that animal alive because I need to confirm if it is a doe and if she is pregnant. This blind man is speaking with such confidence, and I need to verify this. If it is a doe and pregnant, it is not worth our hunt as we were pursuing a deer. So go and find out if it is indeed a doe." The commander, after receiving the king's order, went forward and returned after a while to tell the king, "O king, whatever this blind man said is absolutely correct. It is indeed a doe and she is pregnant." Upon hearing this, the king was astonished. He couldn't understand how the blind man could know that the animal was a doe and that she was pregnant. The king's mind was filled with many questions. Now, the king was determined to find out how this blind man knew that the animal was a doe. Thinking this, the king went to the blind man and said, "Look, I don't know if you are truly blind or not, but I want to ask you something. Will you answer my question honestly?" To this, the blind man replied, "O king, you can ask me whatever you wish." "I will answer you truthfully," said the blind man. The king replied, "Look, on one hand, you say you are blind, and on the other hand, you identified that the animal I was chasing is a doe, and moreover she is pregnant. How did you know this? There must be other animals that come to your field and pass through here. How did you figure this out?" The blind man replied, "O king, you were chasing a doe. When that doe came into my field, I could tell from her speed and the sound of her fleeing that she was a doe. The fence of my field is very low. It's not very high. If it were a deer, it would have easily jumped over the fence, but the doe broke through the fence to escape. If she had tried to jump over the fence, it would have posed a risk to her unborn fawn, which is why she broke through the fence instead of jumping over it. That's how I figured out that she was pregnant." The king then had another question. He asked, "But how did you know it was a doe? There could be other animals coming here as well." The blind man said, "O king, I sit here all day from morning till evening, and my hearing is very sharp. I can even identify which animal has entered my field, and based on that, I shout loudly to drive it away so that it doesn't destroy my crops." Hearing this, the king was completely satisfied. He thought to himself that even though the man was blind, he seemed very knowledgeable. He must be useful for something. With this thought, the king returned to his palace. As soon as the king reached the palace, he said to the blind man, "You are indeed a wise person. You seem to figure out everything quite easily. Today I have called you here because I want to know whether my wife is chaste or not," said the king. The blind man replied, "O king, what kind of question is this?" The king insisted, "I have asked you a perfectly valid question. Please answer it." The blind man responded, "O king, why are you asking this now, after so many years of marriage? Why are such questions arising in your mind?" The king persisted, "You must answer my question. If you do not, I will have you executed." Hearing this, the blind man said, "O king, if you want the answer to this question, you will have to do one thing for me." The king asked, "What do I need to do?" The blind man replied, "You need to leave your wife alone with me in a room." At first, the king was enraged by the blind man's request, but after some consideration, he agreed and ordered his commander, "Commander, make arrangements to leave this man alone with my wife in a room." The commander followed the king's orders. Now, the king's wife and the blind man were alone in a room. The blind man then said to the queen, "I need to choose you." This made the queen extremely angry. She began to beat the blind man fiercely, using her hands, feet, and throwing him around. She beat him severely. After somehow escaping with his life, the blind man returned to the king and said, "O king, your wife is not chaste." The king was extremely furious. He drew his sword and went straight to his wife, saying, "Queen, I am going to ask you some questions now. You must answer truthfully, or I will sever your head from your body immediately." The king then asked, "Are you chaste or not?" The queen responded, "O king, even if you kill me, I will tell you that I am not chaste." Hearing this, the king was very pleased because what the blind man had said was completely true. The king immediately went to the blind man and asked, "How did you know that my wife is not chaste?" The blind man replied, "O king, it's quite simple. I only told your wife that I needed to choose her. Her reaction was so violent that she beat me mercilessly with kicks and punches. No woman should show such strength towards another man. If she was a chaste, she would never have beaten me. The way she attacked me proved that she is not chaste." The king was impressed by the blind man's response. He said, "You seem to be very wise. All right, answer one more question, and if you give the correct answer, I will let you go." The king then asked, "Tell me, am I really the son of my father or someone else?" The blind man replied, "O king, what does it matter to you? Whether you are someone's child or not, you are still the king of this realm. So let this question be." The king was taken aback by the blind man's reply. He realized that the blind man's wisdom and perception were beyond ordinary understanding. The king, now deeply impressed, decided to let the blind man go, acknowledging his extraordinary insight. Thus, the blind man left, and the king pondered over the lessons he had learned from this encounter, reflecting on the depth of wisdom and perception that can sometimes be found in the most unexpected places. But the king said, "No, I need a precise answer to this question, otherwise it will always trouble me. So I want to know the correct answer. If you give the correct answer, I will let you go. I will not stop you." The blind man replied, "O king, there is no need for me to go to your mother to find out this. I can tell you right now who your father is, but first I want you to promise me that you will not be angry with me." The king said, "I promise you that I will not be angry with you." Then the blind man said, "O king, you are indeed the son of your father, but you are overshadowed by the influence of a miserly merchant." Hearing this, the king became very angry and immediately drew his sword, going to his mother. Once there, he said to her, "Mother, tell me truthfully whether I am truly my father's son or not. If you do not tell me the truth, I will give up my life right here. Tell me what is true." His mother replied, "Son, you are indeed the son of your father, but you are overshadowed by the influence of a miserly merchant. When I once looked at my face in the mirror after bathing, I saw the shadow of the miserly merchant behind the glass, and that shadow has fallen upon you." Hearing this, the king was very happy and immediately ran back to the blind man and said, "How did you know that I am overshadowed by a miserly merchant?" The blind man said, "O king, you asked me many questions, which I answered correctly. If it had been another king, I would have received many rewards in return, but until now you have not even given me a penny. From this, I inferred that you are very miserly." Hearing this, the king started laughing loudly and said, "Whatever you ask for, I will certainly give it to you, but tell me how you know what is true and what is not. How do you give such precise and correct answers to every question?" The blind man replied, "O king, I am indeed blind. If I had eyes, I would easily know everything. But a mother has her own language. And this language can be understood through the behavior of a person's body. By observing their eyes, lips, mannerisms, and actions, one can discern what is going on in their mind. Based on this, we can understand anyone's thoughts. However, I am blind and cannot see, so I rely on actions. To know something, I need to observe how the person behaves, how they perform their actions. By understanding how they act and the manner in which they act, I can gauge what is going on in their mind." Then the king asks, "Does this mean that I can also know what someone is thinking?" The blind man replies, "Yes, your majesty, you can certainly understand what someone is thinking. But first, you need to focus on yourself." He then explains 3 methods for concentration. All 3 methods are quite simple and easy, but first, the king must calm his mind and bring it to the present. When we focus our minds and bring them to the present moment, we can understand the thoughts of others because that person is still thinking in the present. We must also bring our minds to the present to understand their thoughts. If we are thinking about past events, we won't be able to grasp what the other person is thinking in the present, as we are engrossed in past events. Therefore, to know what someone is thinking, we must first concentrate our minds and bring them to the present. The man then tells the king, "Your Majesty, the 3 methods I will tell you will help you easily understand what anyone is thinking." The blind man continues, "The first method is to pay attention to the eyes. When talking to a person, it is crucial to observe their eyes. Although eyes do not speak, they convey a lot. If we learn to understand the signals from a person's eyes, we can know what is going on in their mind, what they are thinking, and what they are about to do. I don't have eyes, but I learned this skill from my teacher. Years ago, when I had eyes, I could understand people's thoughts just from their eyes. Therefore, if you also want to understand others' thoughts, you should pay attention to their eyes, such as their shape, when, where, and in which direction they are looking. If a person's eyes are darting around when you are speaking with them, sometimes up, sometimes down, or all around, or if their eyes appear happy or disappointed, like those of a thief, it indicates that the person may have made a mistake. Similarly, when we pay attention to a person's eyes, we find that their eyes speak a silent language. If you want to know whether someone is lying or telling the truth, observing their eyes is very important. If the person is moving their eyes around, up, down, right, left, while talking, it means they are searching for excuses or lying. If someone is trying to lie to you, they will avoid making eye contact because they fear that looking into your eyes will reveal their lie and the truth will come out. Additionally, facial expressions reveal a lot. Sometimes a person conveys a lot through their facial expressions, eyes, lips, and other expressions. If a person is very sad, happy, or has a significant sorrow, their facial expressions will reveal it all. Whether a person speaks or not, you can learn everything from their face. Finally, the blind man explains the 3rd method, understanding hand gestures and body language. When someone talks, they often use hand gestures and body language. By observing these gestures and movements, we can understand how seriously they are listening and what is going on in their mind. Body language includes hand movements, posture, and frequent touching of the face. Paying attention to all these gestures is crucial. If you understand these 3 methods, eyes, facial expressions, and body language, you can easily discern what someone is thinking. However, to interpret these signals correctly, you must first calm and focus your mind and bring it to the present. If you are preoccupied with past events or future plans, you will not be able to pay attention to the person's behavior and understand what is going on in their mind. You may have observed that many saints and sages calmly observe you and understand your thoughts because their minds are focused and tranquil. If you have listened to the entire story, please subscribe to this channel so I can bring you more enlightening stories. Namo Buddha, see you with the next story.